Hello, and welcome to Juneteenth 196 2020 Special Edition. B-HBrilliantMinds Project, Inc. is honored to bring to you invited guests who will share their personal life stories from past to present. B-HBrilliantMinds Project, Inc. understands the importance of leaving a legacy that will carry on after we're gone. We know that we are responsible in keeping our stories alive, creating opportunities for voices of our communities to be heard. The Juneteenth 196 special edition will capture the essence of why we are to celebrate and honor the backs and shoulders of our ancestors who we stand on. Their faith, resilience, strength, blood, sweat, and tears are the building blocks for the generation to come, blowing into the wind, a creation as we create and prepare the brilliant minds of the future towards excellence. And tonight we have Dr. Patricia Nunley. Hello there, my sister. How are you?
How are you, Sister Barbara? Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. You're always doing amazing things. And so, I'm sorry, let me fix that. So you're always doing amazing things. So thank you. Thank you so much for, because you always give us our flowers as we live. And so I want to start by giving you your flowers and saying thank you, because it's sisters like you who make us, being a Black woman, we feel good, because many times Black women hate on each other, etc. You've never been that kind of sister. So I love that about you. Yeah. So thank you. Your mama done good.
All right, I'll let her know that. So as we move forward today, we just want to ask you a couple of questions, and we just gonna have a sisters talk, and we're grateful and thankful that you're here. So the first question was, tell us about yourself, family, your upbringing, and your passion.
So
I know it's a mouthful. However you want to start, that's totally up.
Okay, so I was born in Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City is called the Show Me State. So, Missouri is the Show Me State. So that means we don't believe anything, you got to prove it to us. And and that seems true about me. So, but while I was born there, I came to California when I was 2 years old. And so I don't know a whole lot about it, but all my relatives are there. So how did I get to California? Well, my mother and my parents moved to San Francisco. And when they came to San Francisco, because my father he was moving in with his sister, and they didn't have space for a young child yet. And so his mother came from Arkansas and took me to Arkansas with her. So I stayed there for a summer. And then once he got it together, then she brought me on a train to San Francisco. So once I came to San Francisco, we came to Hunters Point. And after we lived in Hunters Point in the projects for a while, so I went to kindergarten at Hunters Point 2. And then we finally bought a home in Bayview on Thornton Avenue, 207 Thornton. And after that, I'm sorry.
That's where my grandmother stayed.
That's where who stays?
Our grandmother we were raised on Thornton. We stayed on Palouse.
Wow.
On Palouse and 3rd, yes. By the mini park, Phelps in Palouse.
Yeah.
He lived. And my grandmother was at 521 Thornton.
Are you serious? Oh my.
Still have the property today.
See, and my parents, they sold the property.
Okay.
And then they moved to what was that? Bernal Heights.
Yeah, I know San Francisco like the back of my hand.
See, yeah, and we were on Bradford, right off of Cortland. But what happened in that house flooded after 2 years. And so then we moved to, what district is that called? We moved on Cambridge Avenue. So I forgot what you call that district. It's not Excelsior.
Is it
Oh,
Fillmore?
Portola.
Yeah.
So it was off of Silver Avenue and in Cambridge. And so that's where I ended up, was there until I was an adult. And so I was educated in San Francisco in the public unified school district. I was bused and I was tracked. And then from there, I went to San Francisco State University. That's where I got my degree. But in the middle of going to San Francisco State, I actually got married and married to a Marine. And so I moved to Oceanside, California. And so for 1 year, I went to San Diego State. Okay. And then with the Marines, what happens is they can't take their wives with them. They're not, like the Navy Army. And so I came back home to stay with my parents on Cambridge and finished up at San Francisco State. So basically, it took me 5 years to get a 4-year degree. Mm-hmm. My undergrad degree is in business administration marketing. So married, going to school. Then after 20 years, I decided to go back to school. So I went back to school after 20 years to get my master's degree. Now, when I was working on my master's degree, well, first a little story that goes with that. Let me back up just a little bit. So I moved to Vallejo, California. Yeah. And there I owned a Black bookstore. When I had the Black bookstore, this was at the beginning of the Ebonics movement. So I had Black teachers as customers. So I remember they were like all doing the Ebonics things. And also this was at the time when Vallejo School District was disproportionately suspending Black boys. One of my customers, the school had a restraining order against her because she would protest against the school. So Ebonics, Black boy suspension. So I was all caught up in that. And I'm like, this is interesting. What is going on in education with Black children? Remembering that I'm someone who I was in the gifted program. I got bus tracked, all college prep. But I do remember a lot of my fellow students didn't do that. So anyway, what I wanted to do in the bookstore, I wanted to use the back side of my bookstore to create an after-school program. And they said, you can't just do that. You need to go get some kind of something for that, like for after-school programs. So I said, okay, I'll just go to City College. And I did it really fast, got a certificate. And then they said, you know what? You're good with this. You should go on. So that's how I decided, you know what? Let me get my master's degree in early childhood education. So when I got the master's degree, I got it from Mills College. But what I soon realized is this is white people stuff. This is a mess. And I realized that I have a master's degree. Nobody's listening to me. But my white colleagues, my white they listen to them all the time. So I said, let me go get a doctorate degree and become Dr. Nunley. And so that's what I did. Then I went back and got my doctor's degree. Now, when you get a doc, it takes, I think that took me like 3 years, right? So, but I got my doctor's degree late because remember, I went back to school 20 years later. So I got the master's and I got the doctorate. Okay, so I'm like a brand new doctor. So that's my education stuff. Okay, so for my family, my mother and father are from Arkansas. And one was from Three Creeks, Arkansas, my father, who's now transitioned. And my mother was from Hattiesville, Arkansas. These are small towns. Well, I don't even call them towns. They call them communities. And in their community, everybody was Black. Well, in my mother's, everybody Black, Lottie, Dottie, everybody. And they were what they call landowners. So they owned their own land. They did their own thing. For my father lived in a community where mostly Black, but there was some white too. But they also were landowners. So what does that mean? Why do I say that? So it means that the way I was raised was kind of strange in that you don't ask for handouts. I remember when I was first got laid off and I could collect unemployment, I was afraid. If you know San Francisco, it used to be in the old Sears building on Mission Street. Yeah. So that unemployment office, I
Yeah.
was so ashamed. I would not stand in that line. I stood on the other side of the street, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm collecting unemployment, right? And now I look back and laugh. It's like, excuse me, I paid into that. Y'all owe me that money, right? But I didn't get that because I was raised that it's like, oh, no, you don't ask nobody for anything, right? And so, yeah, so that's funny. So I was raised like that. I was also raised that an education is everything, that you need to get an education, but guess what? It's the one thing the white man can't take from you.
Mm-hmm.
So get an education so white people can't take it from you. Now, isn't that a weird incentive for an education? But so my parents, they may not buy you anything else, but they would buy you books and things like that. So education was really important. So that's really that old school Black stuff. I'm a junior elder, so I just turned 63. So that means I was born in 1957.
Girl.
Yeah, thank you. So in 1957. So those parents believed that education was a ticket out. You know, it's like you got to get your education. So that's how I was raised. Okay, so my father was old school Black, male chauvinist. You know, male chauvinist, like old Black men. It's like, hey, mom's supposed to cook, do all that kind of stuff. But what was funny, my mother on my maternal side, my mother she was a preacher's daughter. She was, my grandfather was a preacher and my great grandfather was a preacher. So she's old school too, but she was like her mama and her grandma. It's like, no, we need to have our own little piece of change and stuff. So my mother is like, I'm gonna work. But in her working, she's still in this old school environment. So, you know, she had to do both. So it was crazy. She was like, bring home the bacon, do all of that kind of stuff, right? But before she actually went out working, my mother was the one that would do everybody's hair in the kitchen, that would babysit all the kids. Then when she finally said, I need to get me a real job, she would work at nighttime. And so when I come home from school, she's there, breakfast, you know, so she was working with sleep. So anyway, so they always work. My daddy always had 3 jobs. I thought everybody's daddy had 3 jobs. Did not know the reason my father had 3 jobs. God bless him. I love him, but he always said to keep things real. My father had 3 jobs because one, he had to take care of his family. The second was he loved to travel. We went on vacations all the time. I've been all over the world, right? Third, my father gambled. And he's like, oh no, I'm gonna have to do my fun thing, right? So he had all these jobs. Yeah, I thought it was normal. Go ahead, Barbara.
I said he had it mapped out. He knew what he was doing, how he wanted to have it done.
Right, but I thought it was very normal for people to do that. I didn't realize that. I thought so I was raised in the hood, but in what you call an upper middle class upbringing, because bottom line, we went on vacations every summer. We went everywhere. I mean, before I was out of high school, we've been through pretty much every place in the United States, right? And so now I travel internationally. But I thought it was normal. My father was the first Black man. Well, was he the first or one of the few? I'm not first or like the 2 or 3 where he owned a taxi medallion. So a taxi medallion, it gives you the right to have a cab. So what he would do, he would drive his cab and he'd take all these rich people, all places during the week. And on the weekend, he's like, okay, we go in there too. And so we went to circus, any place them white people went, we would go. So much, I remember I used to go try on fur coats, you know, like go downtown and try on a fur coat. And it's like, hey, and then it's like, they don't know who I am. I might be Willie Brown, you know, just all kind of, I just didn't care. And so white people were never a threat to me. They were just like, whatever. So I got used to being the fly in the milk. And it was actually good because most of my education, that was the case, you know, that I was the lone Black person. So I was brought up to education was everything. Oh, and also white people are not better than you. Period. And what's so strange about that though, my parents grew up in the segregated South. They went to their Black schools and they were happy. Now what's weird, my mother, as she got older and her Alzheimer's, she would do things that just pisses me off to this day. If we're walking down the street and white people start coming toward us, she would try to move off the sidewalk out of their way. I'm like, are you out your mind? It's like, what is wrong with you? But it's like, so it didn't connect. It's like you were saying one thing, but then so I don't know what that was all about, Barbara. I truly don't. And she also, I'm very loud, right? Real loud. And she's like, shh, can you lower your voice? It's like, I don't care. I'm going to talk loud. I'm not, what they going to do? Eat me, right? And then my hair, she was like, oh my God. It's like, what's going on? So I don't know. It was weird. It's like she socialized us to not have that stuff, but somewhere deep in her, I think she had some anti-Blackness that she could no longer hide it when she was older. I don't know. Have you noticed that with older Black people, that at first it's like, hey, they all this, and then something happens? Have you ever noticed that?
I believe they kind of like revert back to the time that they were brought up in. Mm-hmm. And even though they encourage you to not, like, you know, don't let that affect you, it's still deep within them was there. And you know, it always says when we come in a baby, we leave a baby. So as they, you know, you get timid and you get, some people, you can see some of some folks are like that and some people are not. But maybe that, you know, hey, I'm not quite sure, but.
Yeah, it was really weird to me. And I was like, wow. But you know, when I look at also, she was a preacher's daughter, right? And I was really surprised by things like when I started reading for myself, like I love to dance. I used to dance in Carnival, right? Yeah, it's like.
Girl, you would be cutting the rug.
Yeah, girl with the big costumes.
That's my outlet.
Yes,
that's
yeah.
my outlet. Oh, my love. I love to dance. But you know what? We came from a dancing family. My dad, like you just said earlier, and on Friday nights, fish fry going down in the town. You hear me? My parents had their friends. What they would do, each family would have a Friday night. You got the fish fry, you got the alcohol going. They in there partying and having a good time. And then when they finish getting themselves groove on, then they gonna have you come out and do a showcase. You gonna dance, sing, you gonna do something. But the money on in another room. But yes. And we're dancers. It's the drum beat that's in us. I can't help myself.
Yep, that is so true. And it's so funny when like I said, I danced in Carnival with the big costumes. And then when I start going, you know, getting deeper into church, because I was always there, but like really reading for myself, one of the things that it's like, yo, Mom, what you mean? That ain't what the Bible said. And I realized that what my mother had done, she never read for herself. It was like whatever anybody told her. Like she lost her hair from alopecia. She's like, oh, this is a curse from God, you know, because if I don't have hair on my crown, just like all kind of weird. It's like, Mom, that is not in the Bible, right? And so, but what she did used to say when she would see me in church, like when I go to church, so it's like, hey, I'm still same thing, right? That like your dad beat. Yep. And so what she tell people is like, my daughter, she used to dance for the devil. Now she dance for the Lord. I'm like, Mom, you know, so, but anyway. So I love dancing. So, okay, so my passion. My passion is my people. Wait, I'm going to go to.
Wherever you want to.
Well, you said to ask. So what do you want to ask me? Okay, so I have an adult daughter who is, and I'm a divorced mom. Mm-hmm. I am a faculty member at City College of San Francisco. I'm in the Child Development Department. I have taught at, I was an adjunct faculty for a long time. The word adjunct simply means part-time. So I have taught at Mills College, San Francisco State, Berkeley City College, LA Trades Tech, Modesto. And so I have taught students getting their doctorate degree all the way down to preschoolers. I don't really like doing infants. And because I'm too high affect and I'll say things and like infants and toddlers are trying to learn how to poop. I'll be like, oh, you stink, all that kind of stuff. You can't say that, right? You say that to a young child and they're like, oh my God, they'll never want to poop again in life, right? So I'm real. And so I realized that for them, you know, if you say they have the cooties, they'll try to rub it off of them. So I realized I shouldn't be with them. I needed to be with older folks. So I've also taught in the county jails. I've taught at San Bruno Jail, men, San Francisco County Jail, also Camp Sweeney for juveniles. I've taught immigrants, refugees, et cetera, et cetera. So I have taught in a lot of different spaces. And being an educator is my calling. So there's a difference between, so in education, they call it an art and a science. So the science is understanding, learning, and development. The art is the ability to hold your audience, hold your students captive. But a calling is different when it's like God said, this is what you're supposed to do. So for me, I'm more than just old school Black teachers where you take your students and you put them on top of your shoulders and push them higher than you. It's like, I got to teach to your spirit. And so it's like, if you fail, I fail. So it's like, what am I doing wrong? So I'm believing, because I'm from the tradition now I understand things better. Asa Hilliard, the African teacher. The African teacher teaches to your spirit. The African teacher says you're already brilliant. My job is to pull it out of you. And I need to act like a doctor and figure out, so how do I get that stuff to come out of you? What do I need to do? Which is a whole different way of teaching as opposed to, this is the information that I have. I'm going to pour it into you and I expect you to regurgitate it. So teaching for me is a calling. How did I get in it? Well, I had 1,000 jobs. I mean, 1,000. I've worked in law enforcement. I worked for 3 different police agencies: Redwood City, Contra Costa County, Hayward Police Department. I have worked at in medical billing. I have worked as a children's program manager. This is sort of related. Children's program manager at a homeless shelter. I have my first job after I got my bachelor's degree was at Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburgers as store manager. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I have had like, oh my God, what haven't I done? Let's see.
But what I do want to say, what I love about you is that even though you have your degrees, you are still a loving, caring sister. You still down to earth. I mean, you are able to be yourself. And I see a lot of folks are not able to be themselves. And not only that they're not able to be themselves, they look at you mad. They mad when you can be yourself in front of anybody. So to me, it takes a lot to just, it doesn't take a lot. It takes less to be yourself and a lot to be somebody else.
Right. Because I think it's just, it's like, hey, I mean, how am I? Because really, let me tell y'all a secret about getting a doctorate degree. It's not about you all that smart. It's about you disciplined. And guess what? You only special in some area. That's it. I mean, mine is in educational leadership, child development. You asked me about some calculus. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? You asked me about, So you ask somebody, so what's your doctorate degree in? That's what you specialize in. All you've shown the world is that you have discipline, though, because it's hard. Because I know some people almost lost their minds, right? So that's all it is. But it's not that you're better than anybody. There's people like Baba Wade, Dr. Nobles. He is smart anyway. You know how some people, you just was gonna be smart anyway. I'm not that person. I was just disciplined, and just it's like, you know what, white people, you ain't listening to me, and you listen to them white girls. So my motive was, I was motivated in a different way.
Got it. Got it. So the next question for you would be, we touched on that, what that actual profession that drew you, like you said earlier, it's a calling, and you were drew by the calling or.
Right. So all those other 1,000 jobs I had, the bookstore, when I finally went back to school 20 years later, I'm like, you know what? I'm very interested in this teaching thing, because I realized that it's the stuff wasn't making sense, Barbara. Check this out. So here I am. Okay, so I'm back 20 years later. I'm going to school with these young white girls. My degree is in business administration. Theirs is in child development. they know Piaget, they know all these people, right? So I'm like, oh, snap. So I'm trying to read all of this stuff and catch up. And I'm like, this stuff is crazy. It's like, no wonder you're not successful. You know why you're not successful, Barbara? I thought I was brilliant. It's like, y'all not successful because in human development, there's 3 areas. There's biological, psychosocial, and then there is, which one am I missing? Cognitive, right? So basically, let me just say it like this. These 3 areas, they ain't talking about spirit. I said, that's the problem. We're spiritual people. It's like, y'all ain't gonna ever get it right until you look at the spirit. So I'm like, I'm brilliant, right? And I'm saying this to everybody, right? It's like, yep, y'all ain't gonna get it right. You don't know what you're doing, right? Then I'll run into some Black people like Baba Wade. And they're like, you know what? Excuse me, Patricia. I don't care what them white people told you. Basically, I found out all the Africans, they already knew that. So I wasn't brilliant. It's like, it's just white people don't know it. So in the textbooks, my point is this, the textbooks they have, now I'm gonna use one of them big crazy words, epistemological racism, epistemology. All that is the way you think, how you learn to think about what you're thinking about, right? They are not coming from an African-centered point of view. It's very European, very Western. They don't do spirit. You know how we say there's the metaphysical and the physical, the visible and the invisible? They don't do any of that stuff. And so I was thinking, well, this is why you'll never be successful with Black people. And I thought I discovered something. No, what it is, y'all just didn't know it. And so I really feel blessed in that the ancestors, God showed me already. It's like, this is wrong. And so I already felt it. Then I start reading. It's like, okay. So I kind of backed into the profession because for me now, I call myself a traditional healer, and my medicine is education against the disease of ignorance, right? So it's like, I'm an educator, but I'm a healer. So I'm healing you from your ignorance, and mostly since early childhood development, it's about identity development. I'm trying to get you to know who you are, who God made you. And so to me, that's like really, really more important than all that other stuff. You need to know that no matter what, you're gonna be a Black person. And I'll give you an example for my first classroom. And it's so funny because of Kamala Harris. It's interesting. So the first classroom I ever had was at a Black Christian school. So when I was putting my classroom together, I'm like, okay, now I need to put all Black people up. So I was putting all Black people up. I put up a picture of Kamala Harris because she had just gotten that position in San Francisco. Because I wanted all my little Black kids to know, when you grow up, you ain't gonna be nobody but Black people. You're not gonna be anything else, right? And so then I said, well, I need to put their parents up here too. So it was all Black in my classroom. Black books, the wall, everything was Black. Because you're a 4 and 5-year-old, you're gonna grow up to be a Black person. Then all of a sudden, I got a Latino boy in the class. Then it's like, oh snap, so I added Latino people. Then I got a Chinese. So I always recognize that you're gonna grow up to be who you are, nobody else. Now, I remember when the Chinese child came in, he was Chinese and Japanese. His parents said to me, the only thing, because they come and see before, they said the only thing at that time was Miss Nunley, is we don't want our child to come home thinking he's Black or want to be Black. I said, don't worry about it. You know, I am going to he is who he is. And right. So, yeah. But so that's important to know. When you're working with young children, if they're playing with white dolls and other, it's like you're messing them up because they're not going to grow up to be that. Mm-hmm. So I really recognize that early on. So I think I don't call myself a teacher, I call myself an educator. And what educators do is help you understand these things that it may seem so simple to you, but it's very, very important that a child learns to love whoever they are, Black, brown, white, love that person, understand who that person is. But that doesn't happen in schools. Our schools are Western and white, and they try to indoctrinate you and socialize you, so you'll end up hating yourself. You end up hating your hair, your skin, your body type, so many things. So I think early childhood educators is very important that they love themselves. Unfortunately, Barbara, they don't. A lot of times. I remember what Baba Wade Noble said to me, and he said, Patricia, your job is to make sure white teachers do less harm and make sure a Black teacher does no harm. He said, because that black teacher looks like your mama, your auntie, and everybody else. That white teacher, you could say they're white, but when somebody who looks like you doesn't like themselves and teaches you not to like yourself, that's powerful damage.
Wow.
And I got sick of teaching at Mills. I said, I'm tired of teaching these white girls, right? I want to teach my people, right? When I go teach at Berkeley and other places, there's more black people, right? And also when I taught at, what's that up on the hill?
Mills? I mean, not Mills, Merritt.
Merritt, yeah, I taught at Merritt. I forgot there. Yeah, I wanted to teach my people, but I got a chance to meet Dr. Carnell West. And guess what? When you talk to Dr. West, he doesn't use all them $1,000 words. I thought he would. He did. He talks like real folk, right? And he was calling me Sister Mills. Sister Mills, I need you to stay at Mills because you got to help them white people because they're going to come and teach our children. But I said, but it is so hard. It's so hard. So it's a responsibility to teach non-black people. My preference is to teach black people to learn how to love themselves because you can do damage. But I recognize somebody got to tell them white people that that's not okay. So it's hard. So in my department, I'm considered the department racist. They always say, can I stop talking about race? My response is, I will when you start talking about it. But right now, because of everything that's going on, now everybody's saying all the stuff I've been saying. So I'm sitting back and like, okay, been told y'all that. So it's hard to be an African-centered teacher. It's easier if I would just go along with the program and not cause problems. Like one of the things, when we decide all the theories and concepts, it's old dead white men who studied their own children. So old dead white men who studied their own children. That's 5% of the world's children. We take those theories and apply it to the other 95% of the children. That's not right. That is so unfair. But that's what happens because I work at a PWI, a predominantly white institution, and I have to teach them those things. But alongside that, I teach them the African things and things, the collectivist things that make more sense. It's like, you know what? You can go try all that all you want, but it ain't going to work unless you know this. So it feels like I have to do a double job, but it's worth it for our babies. Yeah. So it's not easy. It is not easy. Everything I have to do, I have to double do.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, you know, like you said before, if the Lord put you there and you were chosen for it, he equipped you with everything you need in order to succeed. And your story, this is why we're doing the stories, because it's your story. I can't tell you anything about your story. This is what you lived. So I can't talk about against what you've lived, you know. And it is important for us to make sure that these stories stay alive. And we're just giving different perspectives of different people's lives. Everybody lives differently and everybody's experience is different. So we can't put us in a box. You can't put everybody in an actual box and think it's going to be okay. It's about telling your story and knowing that every story counts, whether we like it or not. I may not agree, but however, it's your story. I can't jump in and say anything about, oh, no, that didn't happen. No, you don't think that way and all that. No, that's your life experience. That's what you went through. So to honor individuals in that role, you know, it's in life, we may not like what everybody say, think, or feel. But however, we have to listen to their story.
That's true. Yeah. I can, like, I have like so many, let me tell you a couple little stories. A recent one I was so embarrassed. I was teaching a class, and one of the things, I don't play that laughing at students, laughing at each other, because again, remember, these are adult students, right? So I don't play that in class. So when the students when someone is struggling to get an ideal out, and then I force them to use, like, I said, no, I need you to use academic language, I need you to use theoretical concepts. So I will stop them. It's like, okay, this is what you say, this is how you say it. So a black female was struggling to do that. And then all of a sudden, one of the white males in the students bust out laughing at her. I was like, I was like taken aback. It's like, you don't laugh at anybody in my class, right? And so I'm sitting there like appalled with my mouth open. It's like, no, you didn't. She's struggling to do a reflection and to articulate it using the academic terms and concepts that I asked her to use, and you're laughing at her. So I'm like, and she said, she turned around, she said, what the F you laughing at, right? Oh, and I'm like, okay, so I'm still in my own head mad, right? But I'm kind of half listening. Then one of the Latinos like, yo, dude, yeah, what's up with that, right? So I'm like, okay, wait, I need to come back and be in charge again. I'm like, okay, you guys stop. I got this. And I asked him, okay, so can you explain to the white student, what are you laughing at? And he said, oh, because I had them, they were looking at an experiment by Harry Harlow with rhesus monkeys, and it's kind of triggering and upsetting. And he claimed that it was like nervous laughter, right? And they're like, yeah, right. But I'm like, no, we're going to leave it like, if that's what, tell us again. So it's like, we'll leave it there because I needed to squash it so that we move on. So I squash it. I'm mad the entire time, right? So I try to reach out to the student. I go to the brown student, say, thank you for stepping up and saying something and supporting her, because I was just taken aback and I didn't jump in soon enough. Thank you, right? I said, I'm glad you didn't get up and fight, right? And so then the black student, she didn't come to my next class. I couldn't find her. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I let a white male push out a black female student. This is so unacceptable. So she missed the class and she came again. I pulled her to the side. I said, I need to talk to you. I said, and I started talking to her. Barbara, I started crying. I said, first of all, let me apologize to you. You as one of my black daughters, for me to let a white male do this to you in class. And she was like, Dr. Nunley, don't cry, it's okay. I was ready to kick his ass. I said, I know. Oh, Lord. I said, I know. I said, I know. She said, don't cry, it's okay. She said, I'm used to that. And so I said, but I'm not. I don't tolerate that in my class, right? And so so that's the way I teach. I teach with heart like that. And I get very, very upset when someone stops someone's learning. And another example of when I was teaching in the jail, I was teaching, sadly, in the women's jail, the students are black and white. In the women's jail, they're black females and white females. When you teach in the men's jail, it is black males and brown males. There's no brown females, right? That take the college courses. So one of the white females, so basically when I start talking to them about human development and stuff, they start realizing, wow, all these things happen to me. And they start looking at me kind of like a mom, right? So one time I'm in the class teaching. One of them is, she's on the floor. I look at her, it's like, what are you doing on the floor? She's like, okay, Mama Nunley, I'm gonna get up. I just looked at her and I'm like, okay, because in her mind, I had become like a mother figure to her. Right. This is a white female that had been in and out of jail constantly. Another example in the jail story is one time one of the black students, she went off on me. She's like, I don't know what kind of teacher you are. You're telling us that this book is wrong and stuff. That don't make no sense. She just lost it because I was doing that. It's like, this is what the book says, but this is how it really is. So she just went off. The deputies came and got her. She came back the next week and she apologized. She said, I'm sorry, I didn't take my meds. But I didn't get angry. I just was thinking, wow. I mean, I just got sad and said, wow, some people really think what this textbook says is real. I mean, and not even realizing they're really not talking about you. And so over and over, I run into situations where things happen and it makes me say, I'm glad I'm doing this. In another class, a Chinese student said to me, we were learning about human development and evolution. And she said, so Dr. Nunley, black people, they basically came from monkeys, right? Now, when she said it to me, and I was ready on this time, I'm like, it's like, excuse me? And so when the black students tried, it's like, I got this, right? And I said, why did you say that, sweetheart? And she said, well, because evolutionary theory, and you know how man evolved from a monkey, and and black, I said, okay, so then why am I your doctor? Why am I your teacher? Why do I have a doctorate degree? and you don't, if I came from a monkey, right? And she's like, okay, well, I said, see, something's wrong with that picture, right? And she's like, yeah, I guess so, right? So, I mean, so luckily, you know, she was in a education learning space, because this Chinese teacher is learning to work with children. When I talked to her later alone, I told her, don't ever teach Black children, because you have so much you need to learn. And if you're thinking, that's problematic. But so it is very important that we teach other people who don't look like us. But sometimes even us, we don't like ourselves. Because I noticed one thing that does happen when I start talking about race things, their Black students were like, well, Dr. Nunley, wait, all white people are not like that. I said, you know what? They don't need you to save them. It's okay. It is okay. We're going to have this conversation. So this whole, and right now with all the racism that's more overt instead of covert, it's going to happen more and more. Like in one of my classes last week, a student, she's from Spain, and she's like, Dr. Nunley, I'm out there protesting for y'all, you know, and doing all kind of things because I saw George Floyd. And she said, and I can't believe it. Then one of my Black friends said, why are you out there? You're going to come back and give us COVID. She said, that doesn't make sense. What's wrong with her? I said, sweetheart, you don't understand the history in the U.S. I said, let me see if some other students can explain. And they tried to help her understand. And in the end, she got it. Because when you don't understand the racist history, she was from Spain, from another country. So she didn't get that disproportionately, we are the ones that die from COVID. So yes, I mean, we are at greatest risk. And she didn't understand that her white skin privilege, that when she goes and protests, it's not going to be the same outcome. And so it is very, very interesting teaching now during COVID and with all the races, et cetera.
Wow. So for, so the next question for you is, what would you like to, you kind of touched on several different things, but what would you like, how would you like to be, what would be your legacy? What would you like to leave here or share with America or the world?
So my legacy, this is it. So I have been working on what I call epistemological racism, and showing how that basically the way that we're teaching the theories and concepts are creating racism. Because as I said before, we're using 5% of the world's children to understand the other 95%. So what I do, I teach all of my students is one thing. So I teach with the elephants in the room. So I teach them to always be the one to challenge things. But I also teach them this. I'm going to stand up and show you. So I teach them the non-Western, the African way. So basically what European Western teaching says, I am because I think. So if I have the ability to think about, if I have a brain, then that makes me me, right? So Western says, I am because I think. And so then I teach them non-Western, and non-Western is African. So it goes like this. Let me see if I can get the camera right. So you got to get up like Wakanda right here, right? And so they go like this, is not one, but two worlds, the visible and the invisible. Each person is connected to a single energy source. Now, my feet are going to do something. So this is what my feet are doing. That my feet are together, and then they go back together forward. So I say, each person is connected to a single energy source that allows us to be in the past, present, and the future all at the same time. So what I'm teaching them, any student that ever had me or any person at a workshop, is that bottom line, that there's a visible world and an invisible world. And I'm also teaching them that they exist at the same time, and that we at the same time are past, present, and future. So like when I start my classes now in presentations, I start with Sa'ubona. And Sa'ubona is actually we see you. So it's like, it's not just hello, it's like we see you. And then what I also teach them after they learn how to do not one but two worlds, so remember I said for them is I am because I think. Well, for Ubuntu it's I am because you are. And I am, we do it a second time because you are. And the third one we do I am because we are. So I'm teaching them a collectivist way. So everybody knows, oh, Dr. Nunley, she'll teach you how to do that. And there's another one I do for Western, and I don't even want to waste your time to do it, but it's the Western one, but at the end it says, I am because I think. So basically what I'm leaving my students with is, guess what? There is also an African way of being called Ubuntu, and that African way of being says that we are a collective, we are connected to each other. And so what happens to you happens to me. And when I do that, the thing is my brown students, that's how their culture is too. So many other non-European cultures. Now the culture that I struggle with is my Pan-Asian culture because they're very scientific. So for them, they don't do all the religion and spiritual stuff. Now you have to go back further in their history, but for them, it's very Western thinking. And so the legacy that I'm leaving is like, guess what? We are spirit beings. There's a spiritual world, and you need to tap into that. It's not just about this. The spirit being is the foundational being. And I remember I said it at a workshop. Oh my God. And some person, they immediately said, wait a minute. Because I said African people are spirit beings. They're like, all people are spirit beings. I'm like, everybody don't believe that. You might believe that, but everybody doesn't believe that. So the legacy that I'm leaving is that we are spirit beings. And it's not mine. You know this, Barbara. It's already out there. And so that's what I'm bringing that in and bringing it in a way that, because so I'm a Christian also, but I'm helping them to, because it still aligns with Christianity, but I'm saying it in a way where people don't get all like, oh, you in here trying to go all holy and Jesus on us. It's like, no, I'm going African on you. And I'm saying African people are spirit beings. And it's like, this is why we feel, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the legacy that with Dr. Nunley, it is that there is not one, but two worlds, the visible and the invisible. Each person is connected to a single energy source that allows us to be in the past, the present, and the future, all at the same time. I am because you are. I am because you are. I am because we are. Yeah, so that's the legacy that I'm leaving. It's like, don't you believe that little crazy stuff, that materialism, white people stuff, right? So you want to be successful with us and many other people groups, what they call BIPOCs, Black, Indigenous people of color, then you need to use the African way of being, because that Western I am, because I think, see, that's why they're running around with no masks and stuff. Right? It's like, you don't get to tell me what to do. I'm going to put a mask on because I don't want to get you sick. No matter what I believe, I'm going to care about you, but they don't. That very Western thing. And even if you go, like, we socialize children. We say they're too young to share. We give them individual cubbies. We do all of this stuff to try to teach them to be an individual. And that is not who we are naturally. That's not who a lot of people are naturally. And so you should have at least two ways. But I think our way is better, of course, because I'm biased. But, yeah, so that's it.
Well, perspective, that's your way. That's your way. Hey, can't nobody knock against, that's, like I said, that's your experience. And this is totally you. This interview is about your life, not my life. And not me looking at your life in a way of, oh, that's not right. In a perspective is though your story counts, every person in this world story counts, but your way is not my way is not your way, and hey, and we have to coexist together and be all right with how I live, you know, right. how I move through this earth, and see, you disrespect yours, don't disrespect mine.
Right, because African people are dual. It's a duality. It's both and. It is not either or. It's very Western to be either or. So African people, duality. It's like, you're okay, I'm okay, everybody's okay. But with them, it's like, no, I'm a other you. If I'm right, you must be wrong. Well, no, not necessarily. You just right in a different way.
Right. And well, you know, with that, self-care. What do you do for self-care?
Okay, so what I do for self-care. So let me tell you in the Western white people way. So, and then I'm gonna show you something. It's hilarious. So I always activate my vagus nerve. So activating the vagus nerve. So what that is basically I sing and I dance, and that's what that singing, it activates that nerve, right? When you just, yes. So basically I go to a Facebook church. I cannot sing, but I try. So I use my vocal cords. I move around. All of those kind of things activate your vagus nerve. And when your vagus nerve is activated, it calms you down. So the things that we naturally, the drumming, the beat, and all that kind of stuff, singing, even humming, right? Just moving around, all of that, because the vagus nerve runs all across the face, right? It runs down the neck, down the back, and it's just all over. So they call it the wandering nerve, right? So I dance, I sing, move around, right? I also, I learned to activate my melanin and let the sun kiss me. So I will sit at my back window and let the sun just beam down on me. So that's active because melanin is healing. And I've also tried to, I try to go to bed, but that doesn't happen. So you're supposed to be going to bed by 12 noon. You're supposed to be drinking 8 glasses of water a day. You try to eat a leafy diet as much as you can. And everything white will kill you. White bread, white sugar, white salt, right? White people will kill black people, right? So I try to reduce the sugar. But I know it's really hard for people. So I've been told if you got to eat some sugary stuff, do it earlier in the day, not later. So those are the kind of things. And I believe that God got this. And I'm his child and I got favor. And whatever's going to happen. Remember, if I'm in the past, present, in the future, it's okay. It's okay. So I'll just become, because now I'm a junior elder, I'll just become a living ancestor and I'll still be okay. And if I say it in a Christian way, I'll go home to Jesus. You know, it's all good. You know, he got this. He's in charge. And so I believe that. And so even like when I start presentations, I'll like do things to my ancestor, like the latest ancestor, Robert L. Williams, he just transitioned. So I'll talk about the ancestors of my discipline and recent ones. How is that any difference when I say, okay, I'm praying to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? You know what I'm saying? So I can't say that in school. I could say that to Barbara, but I can't say that to them. So I show students how, look, the spirit stuff is there, and we're just trying to pretend it's not. So I do self-care by recognizing all this stuff is connected, right? And it's like, and at night, I can go to sleep. It's like, you know, it's like, okay, God, whatever, you got this. I wake up, I don't. You got this. I can't be worried about it, right? And I know that's easier maybe said than done for people. And it took me a long time, but I'm 63. And so junior elders, they understand that. It's like, what you gonna do, worry yourself to death? You can't change that way. I'm Scary Mary. I ain't gonna go out there and get, you know, so yeah.
Right. So went across the board and across your life, from past to present to future. And I just want to say B.H. Brilliant Minds Project Inc. would like to say thank you for participating in the Juneteenth 196. As we were saying, this is about leaving legacy, and we want your story to go on. And this segment will be uploaded to www.bhbrilliantminds.org, so you can have folks go to our website and check it out. And we have a Juneteenth series, and then we also have a tap-in series, and you will be a person that's going to be on the tap-in series. But however, what we like to say is we are the breath of our ancestors. We will never break because we are history shakers and makers. This is in honor of acknowledging that Black culture, Black minds, Black breath, and Black lives matter. And we are at this moment saying, say it loud, we're Black and we're proud.
Proud. Yes.
And this segment was sponsored by Winrose Fund of the Common Council Foundation. We want to thank them for allowing us to do our Juneteenth 96. How we came up with Juneteenth 96 is that we wanted to make sure that our folks were safe, and we want to make sure that we still be able to collectively come together. And they gave this opportunity for us to do so through this virtual circle. But however, how we started with Juneteenth 196 is that if you count from June the 19th to December the 31st, it's 196 days. So that's how we came up with Juneteenth 96. The ancestors gave that to me and the Lord, for sure. So I just once again want to say thank you. Any of the sisters that's on here, do you have any questions for Dr. Nunley? Anybody have any questions?
But I want to say that you are beautiful. You say you were 63? Yes.
Thank you, Keisha. Yeah, girl.
She reminds me of me when she said she hadn't had every job, because I swear I'm Jamaican sometimes, because I done had 100 jobs too. And then I liked when you said, when you talked about your passion and your gift and your calling. And my passion, my gift, and my calling, I also have a degree in child development and human and community services. And my passion and my calling is teaching, but teaching special needs children and adults. So I believe that is my calling. That is definitely my passion. That's what brings me joy. That's what makes my heart smile. That's what makes me feel like I'm not working. So I just, for sharing your perspective on gifts and callings and passions, and just your perspective on how we learn and how we should be teaching and how others shouldn't be teaching ours. My children have also been the fly in the milk in many classrooms, just because where we live. Where I grew up, of course, that wasn't the case, but where my kids have grown up and went to school, they have been the only African-American males in their classes. And I have males, I have all boys. So it's like, you know, double whammy with them being African and male. And then having to, you know, with our current situation and losing all of our Black men, you know, and having that challenge of having those conversations with them. And when they were in school, they didn't get, you know, February had come around and there's no Black history, but then you got Hispanic and you got Filipino and you got all these, you know, other nationalities that they have a whole week or they learning about stuff. And I'm like, hold on, y'all teach my kids all of this nonsense, but y'all won't teach them about themselves. And I had a teacher say that she doesn't do it because she's afraid to be offensive because she doesn't know what to do. And I'm like, there's 28 days, 29 days of a leap year. Choose a person every day and talk about it. That's all you have to do. There's no right or wrong way to incorporate Black history in your classrooms. So anyway, thank you for sharing. I enjoyed hearing you speak, and just brought some hope back into, you know, our current situation in our lives and, you know, what we deal with on a regular basis.
I want to say to you, yeah, you're welcome. Let me say thank you. Do you know, to be a Black teacher and teaching special ed is so important. Thank you. Especially, see, and God you got boys, and disproportionately Black males are in there. So you are going to be kind and loving and give them what they need. So thank you. Let me tell you, do you know a long time ago, they used to say, when you become a teacher, brand new teachers, they would stick them in special ed because it's like, you don't need to know anything. Not knowing to be a special ed teacher, that takes more talent and more gifts. So thank you for doing that. That is like, wow. Black
love it.
boys too.
Absolutely love it.
Jesus.
He should just share some of the testament to what you just said about your life experience. So she, like I said, you know, everybody's may not have experienced what you said and may not even like what you said. But then we have another person that's on here saying, yeah, I've experienced that too. So that's why I'm saying that it is so important that we tell everybody's story, because you don't know.
You don't know.
Don't know what a person has been through.
Absolutely. So they open their mouth and tell you.
Yeah. So, but thank you, Teacher Keisha. Thank you.
Anybody?
Mom, yeah, no, that's, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Keisha. Are you done? Finish talking, girl. You know how we do.
I'm done.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in? Okay. Well, I once again want to thank you for tuning in to the Juneteenth 196 special 2020 edition. And we're going to say good night to you all. Stay safe, wear your mask, and just know that we are in this together and we will heal together. And we hope that B.H. Brilliant Minds will continue to have the opportunity to be around and to serve our community with our heart and our spirit.